everyone, and good evening. It is our third episode of Life Beyond the Chair, the Pink Series. And tonight we have with us none other than Shameria Howell. But before we get into speaking with Shameria, I do want to tell you a little bit about what is going on behind the scenes and how we got started. Now, tonight we were supposed to do this live on Facebook. Nevertheless, we will not allow technical difficulties to take over. We're going to record this thing, rock it on out, and upload it so everyone can see it. So you'll be able to access it on YouTube. You'll be able to access it on Facebook. You will also be able to access it via our podcast as well. I'm your host, Keshea, and I am your servant leader by design. I serve as the bridge to your transformation. I'm also the founder of Journey to Healthy Healing, where we take you from feeling hopeless to full of faith, hope, and courage. This series was birthed out of a time where I myself experienced stage 4 colon cancer. During that time, I had 12 rounds of chemotherapy, but I instantly knew that I would return back to that very same treatment center where I was receiving my treatment to volunteer. And on one of those days when I was volunteering, there was someone there that asked, "Why are you here?" And I simply explained to her, I was there because I wanted to show others that there was life beyond the chair. And that is when this series was birthed. But since it is the month of October and we are bringing awareness to Breast Cancer Month, I thought, why not go ahead and highlight women that are experiencing breast cancer on many different levels. The first week we spoke with someone that was a warrior. The second week we spoke with a survivor. Tonight we are speaking with a thriver. And we're going to go ahead and get started with this interview so we can get this information out there, because I know it is information that is vital. It's a testimony that you need to hear as well. So if you don't mind, we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, Shameria, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Shameria. 31 years old. I'm a mother of 2 to Amelia and Azir. I was raised in Warren County. I'm from Warrenton, Georgia.
All right, Warren County. Of course, we're both from Warrenton, small town, but hey, we got big things popping in Warrenton, definitely. So at what age were you when you discovered that you had breast cancer?
I was diagnosed at 20.
Say it again for me.
I was diagnosed at 20.
Okay, all right. And how did you discover that you had it?
Well, I actually felt the lump myself. And when I felt the lump, originally I didn't go, I didn't go to the doctor. I just felt it and I kind of pushed it away. And I'm like, maybe it's nothing, it'll go away. Then I didn't have insurance. So I'm like, I can't afford to go to the hospital to do tests or whatever. So I just put it away, put it on the shelf and forgot about it. And like maybe about 3 months later, it started to grow and get painful. And I knew, it's something going on. So I went like 6 months after I felt it.
Mm-hmm. So it wasn't something that you felt?
When I went,
you felt it, but it was like, okay, I don't have the insurance. I can't go to the doctor right now. So we kind of just put it off to the side.
Yeah, because at first I felt it, but you know how when you feel something and you just be like, well, maybe it's just like I was looking up stuff and I said, well, maybe when your cycle come on, you get those knots in your breast and stuff like that. So I'm like, well, maybe it's just that maybe it's like something with the deodorant I use, because I did use Dove and I didn't really use that deodorant. So I'm like, maybe it's nothing. So then after a month or so, it still was there. Mm-hmm. Then 2 months later, it was still there. Then it started to grow. So I knew it was something at that time, and and by that time I was letting everybody feel like, look, come touch this, see how this feels. And I let my teacher feel it. I was at Woodruff, and I let my teacher feel it, and she was like, you need to go. Of course, when you're a nurse, you teach at a nursing school, you're gonna tell them, go, stop, that's serious. And I'm like, Miss Jones, you tripping? Calm down. It's nothing. She was like, Shameria, you need to go. So I still didn't go because I didn't have insurance. I'm like, I'm not going over there. I didn't know how much it would cost. So I was a single mom. I was like, it'll go away.
Okay, so how did you?
And it didn't.
How did you eventually go to the doctor?
So my boyfriend at the time kind of convinced me to go. He was like, you need to go. Like, you need to go. So I went to well, I think I went to South Regional, not South Regional. It's like a little South Side, like South Star, some kind of little small hospital here in Atlanta. And when I went, I had to pay like a little slot. So, you know, you don't pay a full, you just pay based off of your, you know, based off of whatever things you take them, you pay like a sliding fee. So I think I paid like $65. And then when I went in and I let the lady see it, and she was like, you know, and she kind of made me feel better because I went twice. The first time I went, she told me, the first lady that I saw, she was like, you know, it feels like something's there, but, you know, I wouldn't be too concerned about it because, you know, when, just like I read on the line, she's like, when you have a cycle, you know, you make your breast start to have these feelings in it, and maybe that's just what it is. So when she told me that, that was like confirmation. She did give me a, I don't think she gave me a referral at the time. So when she told me that, it kind of eased me a little bit. So I went back home doing my little thing again, and it kept growing. So I went back maybe a month later, and I saw a different lady. It was a Black lady. She was a midwife, and she was like, you know, that doesn't feel right. So I'm going to give you a prescription to go get a mammogram and a biopsy done to see what it is. So that kind of, I don't think it really scared me when she told me that. I just knew it was kind of serious when she said that, because I'm like, you know, at the time I was 27. I didn't know anything about a mammogram or a biopsy. I mean, you know, you hear about
You've
it,
heard of it. Mm-hmm.
you know. So when I finally did go, I had to go, and I actually didn't have to pay anything because Susan G. Komen actually funded the mammogram and the biopsy. So I went, got the necessary tests done. I think I had did all of that in like between November and December. So I did receive a phone call January 4th, 2018, and they told me it was cancer.
So how did you manage hearing the words, you have cancer?
Well, I think at first I kind of told myself it was, because when the lady came in to tell me the news, she didn't really tell me the news. She just started asking me questions. And when she was asking where did I live, where I work and stuff like that. And I'm just like, you know, just, I knew because she didn't say it. And so I asked her, I said, well, is it cancerous? And she said it is. I just didn't know how to tell you. So when she first told me, I just was like, you know, I just probably I was there, but I wasn't there, kind of like blacked out a little bit. And like, okay, this is what we at. You know, this is what we gonna do. We gonna deal with it. We about to do this. So that was how that went. And I was by myself, you know, and I wanted to be by myself because I know that if I was by myself and they told me this, I can process it better as opposed to somebody else being there and kind of distracting me. So, yeah.
Of course, I definitely understand that. So there was no insurance, but there was some help out there that was able to assist you, and that was Susan G. Komen. You were able to get your mammogram paid for, and that is where it all began.
They were. Yeah. Then the lady was telling me about, because I didn't even know that they have women's, you know, Medicaid for women like with cervical cancer and breast cancer. They have that available. So when we was, you know, at the time she was telling me, when she told me it was cancerous, because she was a Black lady as well. So she was telling me it was cancerous, and she gave me this number to call. And when I called the number, it was to Henry County, because I couldn't get, I live in Clayton County, but it was so hard for me to get an appointment to go in to speak with someone. So I had to go to Henry County, and they approved the Medicaid that same day.
Which is a very, very good thing, because it is kind of hard to get the insurance that you need right away. Now, did you have a history of breast cancer in your family?
I did not. Like, I didn't have any history of breast cancer in my family.
So you were the first, basically.
Yeah, well, I was diagnosed, but I think she was diagnosed. She had the BRCA gene, and on her other side, not on our side.
Okay, gotcha. So what was your treatment plan like, and are you currently on a treatment plan?
I am. I'm still, but initially we did chemotherapy. I did 12 rounds of Taxol, and once I did the of course, I was diagnosed at stage 4, which a lot of people aren't aware the stages. You know, it's many different stages, and a lot of people aren't aware of that. So I was diagnosed with stage 4, and that's metastatic breast cancer. That's when it travels outside of the initial organ or site of the cancer where it first exists. So the cancer that I was diagnosed with traveled to my sternum area. So usually when you diagnose at stage 4, typically they probably just give you like the standard care treatment. But my oncologist, she was young. I had a young oncologist, thank God, and she was very aggressive. And she told me, she said, we're going to treat you to cure you. We're not going to treat you to just, treat you. So we went in and we was aggressive. And she, from the start of the treatment, she kept me in the loop. She didn't just make plans over my life and over my treatment plan. She gave me options. She said, we can do this. How do you feel about doing this? If we do this, then this will happen. So I kind of like that about her because she included me, and I felt kind of in control too because I was able to make the decisions with her. Mm-hmm. I did the 12 rounds of Taxol. I think when I came off of Taxol, I had to do ribo. It's a ribo psych. I can't pronounce it, but it's like it's a chemo pill. So I did that for maybe about 12 weeks. I came off of that because it started messing with my liver function. So after I came off of that, I ended up having a hysterectomy. And after I had a hysterectomy, I had went back on to, I started taking a different type of chemo pill called Ibrance, which I'm currently on right now. And I actually just did a clinical trial, and it was the Ibrance and the radiation.
Okay. Now, are there any type of side effects that you faced with any of these treatments that you've experienced and are currently experiencing?
Fatigue. That's side effects I really face is fatigue. Like I was never sick in bed where I couldn't move. Like I was always able to, perform my duties as a mother and just go about, living.
Gotcha. Because I know, sometimes with the side effects of any drug, it can really take a toll on your body. And especially, stage 4, they do give you, some very, very powerful drugs in order to, treat it. Now, having children, I know you say you had a hysterectomy, but there are 2 beautiful children that exist. Having children, what has the journey been like? Were you sharing with them right off what was going on with you, or were you just kind of protective of their ears?
At first, I was protective. I felt like I couldn't tell them because they were kids, and I felt like they didn't understand what was going on. And I think I probably should have told them because they saw me going, they saw me picking them up. They saw me with bandages on. They saw me with my hair. They saw the changes, the physical changes. So not talking to them, I kind of left them out. And I think it kind of played. My son started acting out in school, and he told his teacher, and I don't know where that came from. One day he told his teacher that he didn't want his mom to die. And that kind of broke my heart because I didn't know, why would he say that? So I think that kind of made me feel like I had to talk to them. And my daughter, she just kind of put things together. She saw the breast cancer ribbon. So she called the breast cancer ribbon cancer. So she was saying she said chemo. It's chemo month. She would call it chemo. So that's how she kind of put things together. Because she knew I was taking chemo. She didn't know what chemo was for. She didn't know what was going on. She just knew I was losing my hair. My son would make remarks like he didn't want his, he was like, I don't want you to get a haircut like me. Boys don't, mommies don't get haircut. So I had to kind of tell them what was going on. That was the hardest thing. But other than that, we kind of got through it together. It was some hard times, but
but you were able to rock that journey out with them. Yes, so they could physically see that things were changing. But I think, considering that you are a thriver, they were also able to see that mommy did fight, and she's continuing to fight, because you're definitely putting them first in every decision that you make. No matter what someone brings to you, I know that the children are definitely at the forefront of your mind before you make a decision. Now, I want to ask you, what would you say to that woman that's trying to decide if she should have a mammogram or if she should be doing self-exams herself?
You should. Don't not see something, say something. Don't think that, you can't afford to do things, or don't let, because there's so many resources out here nowadays to help you with cost of treatment. Susan G. Komen have a lot of grants. Not only Susan G. Komen, it's a lot of different, small grassroots organizations that helps women. So don't let the money bother you. Don't let the money be an issue. Like, I'm here So if you have questions, I'm always available to answer any questions, or I can try to help you, because I don't want people to make the same mistake I did. And I'm not going to say, I feel like everything happened for a reason. I don't have any regrets, because I feel like I went at the right time and I connected with the right people, even the oncologist, because had I not went then, I probably wouldn't have got that same doctor. So I just feel like everything happened the way it was supposed to happen. And this is I'm walking in my purpose. So early detection is key. Early detection is easier to treat as opposed to, when it later progresses.
Most
So
definitely.
when you're 40 years old, you need to go and get a mammogram. If you have breast cancer, a history of breast cancer, you need to go 10 years prior to whenever that person was diagnosed in your family. So let's just say, because I was diagnosed at 27, at 17, I'm on my daughter. I'm staying on her. I'm making sure that we don't have to go through this again. I'm just, just being aware. I think that's the thing. We know that it's something, we know about cancer, but we're not fully aware about it, because we don't really do the necessary things that we should do to make sure that we are okay. Like Black women, all women, I feel like all women kind of put themselves back a little bit, because they all that everybody else is okay, but we don't really take enough time to make sure that we're okay. So I feel like we have a job of taking care of our.
That is definitely the truth, because I can tell you with my own self, I was worried about everyone else and making sure that everyone else was good when my own body was changing. And I, like you, I was ignoring what was going on within my body as well. So ladies, make sure, and men, because men can develop breast cancer as well. So you definitely have to do the self-exams. You definitely have to get the mammogram. And like Shameria said, if there is a history within your family, you should have this stuff started 10 years prior to ensure that you are on the path to making sure that you're taking care of yourself. Self-care, it is definitely a must. That is included. So I want to ask you, who has impacted you the most on this journey?
Oh, that's tough. I think first diagnosed with cancer, of course you don't know. You try to connect with people who have went through the same thing that you're going through, or somebody who's actually going through. So what I did was I kind of got on Facebook, and I was looking at all kind of groups on Facebook, and I ran across this girl. Her name is Keshea. She's actually my follower on Facebook. We follow each other. So she's like my bestie. But I don't think I've ever, we've talked about it a little bit. I think I told her once before, but she really had when I saw her going through something, and she was so pretty, she was so beautiful, beyond her baldness, beyond her scars. She was just so beautiful. And she had a great faith. She was just determined to win.
Yes.
And she gave me hope.
Yes. I know exactly who you're talking about, because I too follow Keshea, and she is a ray of hope. She shines so bright. No matter what it is that she's going through, she always has a smile on her face. And, she's been through so much in her life prior to her own cancer journey. She had already, well, it's not for me to tell her story, but definitely. So I know that she's going to be honored that you have said that, she impacted you the most on your journey. So I want to ask you, do you feel as though anything was stripped from you during this journey?
Yes, I feel like my whole womanhood was taken away from me. And I was okay initially with the diagnosis. I was good. I was ready to fight. I had my gloves on, but it was to that moment where I started losing my hair. I started losing everything that made me feel beautiful. And I know that people would say, it's just hair. You okay? And I started gaining weight. So I felt real uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
So that was very hard for me to go through that, because people can say it's just hair, but until you're put in a position and until you go through that and have to sit in that chair and allow something like that to come and strip that away from you unwillingly, that's hard. That was hard. Even with me losing my ovaries, like, yes, I do have 2 beautiful children who I'm thankful for. I have a daughter and a son. But at the same time, it made me feel like I'm not married. So it made me feel like, what if I get married, and what if my husband want to, have kids? I can't give him a child. I can't bear kids. So that was a lot. So I feel like it was hard for me to just accept that part of it. But I'm good. You have to, I have faith, and I'm good in that part, but it's just, we're all in the flesh.
Definitely. When you get in that flesh, sometimes it definitely can, take you to the left a little bit, but then you have to pull yourself back and get centered with God and understand, like you said, there is a purpose for all of this. Your dots connected as they were, although we may say, oh my God, Shameria should have gone to the doctor as soon as she felt something different in her breast. But like you said, had you gone, then you may not have had that same oncologist. Someone may have treated you differently versus, she was put in place for you. And I'm just thankful that, the story ended up how it ended up. Everybody on your team is supposed to be on your team. So I want to ask, as a thriver, share with us a typical day with Shameria.
A typical day with Shameria is, of course, being a mom first, but it's also just, I have a brand called Wonderfully Wounded. So it's also just really just spreading love and light. Like, I just try to encourage people, because no matter what you go through in life, I know sometimes you may feel like you're going through the worst, because we all fight, battles, even if it's not cancer. We all deal with things differently or just affected by things differently. So just keep living, like, just, it could always be worse. So I always try to encourage people to let them know, even I was diagnosed with stage 4. I'm still smiling. I'm still enjoying every day. I'm still living. I'm still, getting up and with a smile on my face. So I just want to encourage people, because it could always be worse. That little problem that you worry about, you're good. It could be worse.
Yes. The biggest thing I can remember you saying is when you would say stage 4, who?
And you can relate, Keshea. You can relate. It's like our stories are so similar, because a lot of things that we had to go through, we both went through together.
Yes.
We're both had, it was that diagnosed at a stage 4 disease. We both have 2 kids. Like, it's so similar.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But people have to realize that no matter what it is that we have gone through, we are still remaining faithful. We are walking this thing out with God every day. There's no way we could do it without Him, putting Him first in each and everything it is that we do. So go ahead.
That is true, because even if you look at it, when you look at people diagnosed with stage 4 disease, and when you look at us, or when you look at your own journey, it kind of makes you be more humble and more thankful, because I've seen what this awful disease can do to you. So if I just let what my physical eye see kind of did, take me somewhere else, I'll go down. So I don't look at things with the physical eye anymore. I've learned to lean on my spiritual eye. So it's like, I don't get so consumed in that number. Stage 4, who? Like you said, you live.
Mm-hmm. You definitely live. Now, you always talk about gloves on. What does gloves on mean?
Gloves on mean that you are ready. You're prepared for whatever, whenever, however. So it's just something that you just prepare yourself for. Gloves on. So when I got my gloves on, that means I'm ready for whatever. So cancer, people, bad energy, just get ready, because I'm coming and nothing is going to stand in my way. So that's just what gloves on mean. It's just that extra motivation that you need. Come on, let's go. We can do this,
Yes. I definitely feel you on that. Mm-hmm. So what is your go-to song when you are in your thoughts?
Ooh, Trusting You. Because that song, I would listen to that song every day before treatment, because I just knew that God didn't allow me to go through this journey, or didn't allow me to get this far to for it to be over. Mm-hmm. So that song manifest, and it would just really just minister to me in that moment. So I just played. I would play it, and I would play it, and I'm like, Lord, I trust you. I don't care what it looks like. I know they say stage 4 is uncurable, but I know who you are. So I trust you. I trust in you. So I let this go all over me, child.
Gotcha. I think every song on Tasha Cobb's CD was like my go-to, like on repeat at all times, each and every song that was on there. Okay, so people fall short of words and actions. Did you experience this, and how did you press on?
You know what? I really try not to really give that too much thought. I think what I noticed that was with a lot of the breast cancer support groups, where I thought it wasn't really genuine. But as far as my peers, my friends, my family, I don't think that I didn't experience that. They have always been there. They're still there, and I really appreciate them. But I really didn't experience that from my loved ones. And I'm thankful, thank God for that.
Definitely, definitely. So I was going to ask you about any organizations that assisted you through your journey. So you did tell us in the beginning that Susan G. Komen was one of those organizations that assisted you with the mammogram. Are there any other organizations that you relied on?
It was a group. It's a group called Pink. Oh my gosh, she's gonna kill me. Her name is Diane Simmons, and she have a group.
Okay.
She have an organization, and they do. They get together, and she raises funds, and she kind of assists people. And her group actually surprised me. She saw me on Facebook because I would do these things called Worship Wednesdays, where before I go through chemo, I would have chemo on Thursdays, but on Wednesdays I would go into a whole worship and praise to get me, amped up for that next. Yeah, for that treatment. So she saw my videos and she reached out to me and she wanted to honor me. And I didn't know what kind of honor she was going to do, but they actually gifted me with so much goodies, and I really appreciate that because that was unexpected, and it was, I loved her for that. But she's on Facebook. I can't think of her group name though.
Well,
I have to look it up, and I'm gonna take it.
As long as you shout her name out, we know exactly where to find her.
She actually reached out to me this morning because I said I had a bad day yesterday. So she reached out to me last night and she messaged me again this morning. She's watching. I appreciate you, Diane.
Awesome. So tell us about, I gotta show my t-shirt, Wonderfully Wounded. Tell us about Wonderfully Wounded.
So Wonderfully Wounded is a brand that I created just to inspire, encourage, uplift, and motivate people. It was inspired by the Worship Wednesday. So I started the podcast, and once I started on the podcast, I kind of just said, I'm going to create something where when some people see it, they get encouraged by it. So I'm like, what better way to do it than put it on a shirt? So I thought I would put like some of my favorite sayings on a shirt, and that's how we got Wonderfully Wounded. So it's an inspiration apparel. It's just full of love, life, and hope.
But what are other components of Wonderfully Wounded? You kind of downplayed the podcast. Tell us about the podcast.
So the podcast, Wonderfully Wounded, was created. I just wanted to get on and just talk about different things that we go through, because a lot of people don't know if you don't talk about it. And I feel like sometimes when you think of these illnesses, people kind of just, they get so consumed in like the outside of it, like even with the cute little ribbons, even, because every cancer has a little ribbon. They just get, it's all for show. So you want to really just kind of talk about it. You want to let people know this is real. This is my life. I want to tell you these things so that you don't have to go through these things, or just to make you aware of these things, because if people don't know, they don't know. So if they won't shine a light on these things. So that's why I created the podcast, because I wanted to kind of shine a light on my journey and what I go through and what people go through. And also, I wanted to uplift people while I do it. Like, it's not always about cancer. It's really just about, being thankful for today and just living with no regrets. God is a great God. So I definitely, I always speak about God because he's the reason. People oftentimes tell me that, they're inspired by me. And I'm like, God, I don't know. It's just, I'm lost of words, because it's not me. It's not, it's the word. God's word is keeping me every day. His word gets me through the day. So when they say they are inspired by me, I feel like, let me tell you how I got here. Let me tell you, you see what this shirt say? I have to put a big on God, because it's big God and it's small cancer. And that's how I get through every day. I minimize the cancer, so I make it so little, and I just put I put a praise on my God, because that's how I get through it.
And Shameria, I think putting the emphasis on God will allow people to know that even if they don't get cancer, they may lose their home or they may lose a loved one. They know that God is there for them. So it doesn't matter what it is that they are experiencing. They know that God remains big He is huge. He's everything. He covers a multitude. He can do it for me. He can do it for you. He can do it for them. He is like, man, if you don't know God,
better get it knowing.
What?
You is a healer. That's why they say who's report. Yeah, y'all keep saying stage 4 uncurable, but guess what? I know what my God can do, baby.
Yes, you are looking at two women that have been touched by stage 4, but guess what?
Stage 4.
All right. Okay, so what is Wonderfully Wounded doing to impact those that are experiencing a journey of cancer right now? Are you partnering with people, or are you just out there in the community just doing whatever it is that you can do?
I'm out there in the community. I wanted to be the person who, it wasn't even about being a person, but I wanted to show other people that just because you're diagnosed with something, that you don't have to die in a disease. So sometimes I know the doctors can sometimes discourage you when they tell you these things, because like they told me, well, my surgeon told me, stage 4, it's not curable. But I don't want somebody else, because my mind has always been on God, but everybody don't have that mindset. So what I wanted to do, get out and show people, no matter what they say, no matter what it looks like, you too can get past this. You live every day. So what I started to do was I started to, of course, give people with the Wonderfully Wounded shirt. I actually have this person that I'm gifting. She's a newly diagnosed patient, and I'm actually got her like a big little gift basket with a lot of goodies in there, with gas cards and stuff like that, because I wanted to not only, give her hope, but I also wanted to assist her and help her as well, because, cancer really does impact, your family as a whole, and I used to feel like it was just me going through this, but everybody was going through it with you. So I think that's the hard thing, and I was, I'm very independent, I'm very strong-minded, and sometimes I would fight alone, and I had to learn not to do things alone. I had to allow people to help me. My mom used to tell me, like, it's okay for you to, lean on me. It's okay for you to let me in, let me help you. Like, I had to learn how to let her in, because I tried to do it by myself, and you can't do everything by yourself. You're going to need some help. Well, I didn't do it by myself. I had God, but still,
I
had to allow. And I felt like that too, because oftentimes we pray about things, and we ask God for help, and we ask God for these things, and sometimes He give it to us, and we don't recognize it. That it's right beside us, and we overlooking it because we like, God, come on, this. Sometimes we just gotta pay attention. When you be direct in what you ask Him, He's gonna give it to you.
Most definitely, I can relate to that, because when people come around to help, it's like, I could do it. But no, God sent these people here so that you wouldn't have to do all of it by yourself, because you cannot carry this burden alone. There has to be a support system. And if God sends that support system your way, you have to be willing to accept it. Definitely. So I want to ask you to tell us, how can we follow you? How can people support Wonderfully Wounded?
Wonderfully Wounded is actually on Facebook and Instagram. On Facebook, it's Wonderfully Wounded, and on Instagram, it's @_Wonderfully Wounded. I have a website. It's www.wonderfullywounded.net. You can support me by buying a shirt. Purchasing a shirt for your loved ones. If you're a man, if you're a male, you can purchase it for your wife, your mom. Anyway, that's how you support Wonderfully Wounded. You join the movement. You put your gloves on.
Most definitely. Now, what if somebody wanted to donate monetarily? Is there a way to do that as well?
So if you want to donate, you definitely can donate. You can donate on Cash App. It's Cash App, the money sign Wonderfully Wounded. I'm on PayPal, but it's my first and last name, which is Shameria Howell @gmail.com. And you can message me also if you have questions. I know you're going to tag me. So if you have questions, and if you want to send a donation, definitely message me. If you want to talk about something, message me. Like, I'm here. I'm here to help someone if I can.
Most definitely. So this is our final question of the evening. I want to ask you, how are you living life beyond the chair?
I'm living life beyond the chair by being wonderfully wounded. Not allowing. And wonderfully wounded means to me, how I came up with that name is because, you know, people oftentimes they hear cancer and they think death. So cancer didn't break me. You know, it created something so powerful, so beautiful, so wonderful, y'all, that I was just blessed in that diagnosis. So I was like, okay, yeah, I was wounded, but guess what? I'm wonderfully wounded. Let's go. Let me show the devil what's up. You know, he tried to come at me. I'm about to come at him. So it's like, ever since then, it's just, I don't know, it's just spiraled out of control because I really did not see I didn't envision this. It just, God led me this way because I promise it was not on my mind. It was came up and I was being obedient. I just listened and I got out there and I did what I had to do. I didn't think that I would be an advocate, but I couldn't allow this to happen to me and not say something about it and not try to help somebody else, get through it. So I wanted to speak up and I wanted to speak out. And when I first started, I said, guess what? I'm going to be loud. They're going to hear me. They're going to know what I'm talking about. I'm going to be very loud and I'm going to be very transparent because I feel like you have to be real about stuff like this. If you keep saying that everything's okay, you keep showing the pretty side, guess what? People not going to worry about that because they're not really going to pay attention. When you show them the realness of it, the ugliness of it, you know, the pain, the suffering, the everything about it, then they might listen. They're going to be like, you know, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go through that. I don't want to, you know, have to have a hysterectomy at 28 years old. I don't want to have to be diagnosed at stage 4 at 27. So I'm going to do what I need to do so that won't happen to me. So we have to be real about this. We can't just keep sugarcoating and just think, oh, that pretty pink color or that pretty pink, that pretty blue ribbon. You know, we have to get beyond that color. It's more than a color.
Definitely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so you have heard from Shamerias Howell of Wonderfully Wounded. She is a thriver. She is an advocate. She is also rocking a brand called Wonderfully Wounded. So we need to make sure that everybody gets a t-shirt, gift it to someone in your family because what you purchase will definitely go towards helping someone else. So again, thank you, Shameria, for joining me on this evening. It's such an honor and a pleasure to be here with you because, you know, God wouldn't have it any other way for us to connect and for us to share our journey together. So I want to ask everyone to join us back on next Tuesday, where we will be talking to a caregiver. There are so many components to having cancer, and it's very important to highlight that caregiver. I've been a caregiver myself, and it is not an easy task, but it is definitely something that has to be taken on, and it's a part of our cancer journey. So again, I'm your host, Keshea, your servant leader by design, where I serve as the bridge to your transformation. So make sure you join us back on next Tuesday, where we will have the last episode of Life Beyond the Chair, the Pink series.
Thank you.